Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, we've talked a lot about the hoisting. Every job seems to take weeks and weeks to get done. Just the way things go. You got one guy working, doing the best I can, trying to get as much done as possible. Well, I got some good news. I think I got a chance to make things work. Let's see how it's going to happen. Well, working on trying to make the crane track work. Okay, get these drawn down. There. Well, I've got the casters together and I'm getting ready to put them up on the track. Let's see how they work. Slightly better, but not good enough to work. It's just not going to function. I've tried everything I can think of. I'm just pretty much stuck. So we'll just have to see what happens next. While working on trying to make the crane track work, I kept running into a problem. This track, when this trolley gets pushed sideways and gets a bind on it, it locks up and won't move. And since I'm running a beam, which is 72 inches long between rafters, it doesn't take much of a movement on either side to get this thing over and jammed. And once you jam one side, it causes the other side to lock up also, because then they're both crooked. So I was having a problem. And I said, I don't know what to do. I need to make it so that this thing will track back and forth. So I tried creating a trolley guidance system. The idea was to have it so that this ran alongside and kept it from getting out of track. But this worked in theory. Made it so even with side load on it, you know, I'm pushing one way, then I'm pushing the other, it still rolls. But I thought, this is such an awkward thing. It's very hard to assemble up in the air. And I was concerned that I'd get hours and hours of work into this, making this whole thing, and it wasn't going to work. But I didn't have a choice. I had no other way to go. I went in the house and Lydia and I talked it over, and I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this crane work. I'm going to have a separate crane motor, you know, a hoist on each rafter, and then just tie whatever load in between them using 2 hoists to lift it from the center. And it's not going to work well, but it's the best I got. And she said, well, do what you can. You know, she's always supportive. And I said, okay. And I I thought, I'm going to not do anything. I'm just going to sit here and relax a little bit, see if I can get my game together and go forward from here. So I turned on my computer and I was just going to look at some YouTube videos. You know, some of you guys' YouTube channels I like to watch, and some of it's just, you know, cruise around and say, what are other people doing? Idiocracy set up a crane and he used a double rail system. I was thinking, well, if I have to, I'll put up a double rail so it goes across and doesn't catch, because I could not get it to travel more than 2 or 3 feet. And I thought, if I got a load on that thing, it's not going to move at all. It's going to just hang up. Then I'm going to be sitting here with a 400-pound capacity, 440-pound capacity hoist, holding something up, and it's stuck. So I didn't want to have to always be getting the ladder out to move the crane, which would take the whole point of the crane, just ruin it. So I'm watching YouTube videos, or I'm going to watch YouTube videos, so I turn on the computer. And I use Google. I like Google Chrome. It's not necessarily the best search engine that you've got going, but it does work well with YouTube, and YouTube seems to be a great part of my life, trying to make the thing work and do what I need to have it do. So Google comes up every time I turn on the computer, and down at the bottom it'll give me flash ads. Now the flash ads aren't Google, they're MSN, because my computer is running Windows and it wants to fire up on Windows first. Then on Windows you go to Chrome. Well, when you open up Windows, it lists advertisements down at the bottom. And right there, sitting there looking at me, was something that I thought, this is going to be it. This is going to make it work. It was what I was trying to make with this cobbled up thing out of casters and angle iron and square tube. The idea of the caster on the side of the rail, yeah, okay. When I built overhead cranes in factories, it ran on what looked like a railroad wheel. It had a flange on one side, and it rode down the track, which was a piece of I-beam. So the flanges on either side would ride the edge of the I-beam, and if it got a little twist on it, it still rolled. Also, those hoists were all driven by a motor. So you had a wheel on either side driving the track at the same rate as it moved it down across the ridge. That makes a whole lot of difference. You can't get a twist when you're running two wheels, each one turning at the same rate. It goes down square to the track every time. And I thought, early on, well, I could put a powered, run cable and run a motor on the end and run the thing back and forth. And I thought, well, okay, I can take one of my old drill motors. I have several battery operated drill motors, and take one of the old Sears jobs that the batteries no longer work, but they run on 12 volt DC, and I can get 12 volt DC pretty easily, just a battery charger. And I've got 3 or 4 old ones sitting around here. I could hijack one of those as a power supply. Then all I have to do is just flip the contacts on the switch so it's going positive to negative. And that way I can run the track back and forth. And I thought, well, that's a lot of work to make it happen, but it would be nice to have a powered hoist. But before I did that, I wanted to have the track work at least halfway decent before I spent all this time trying to make something that would make a terrible track work. I thought, I need to make the track as stable and straight and square as possible. Well, there in this ad was an advertisement for the answer to my prayers. Now, I haven't tried this because I just got this box and I haven't opened it yet. Yeah, I know. Everybody likes a box opening. Suspense is killing me. Not really. It's just one of those things. Now, one of the things that you never know, I'm reading the ad on Amazon because that's what the ad was from, and it's saying that there's 2 in the box. Well, the first one I thought, well, I'll go, when I ordered the first set of tracks, or the first set of trolleys, I thought, well, I'll order it and hope that there's 2 in there. And there was. And here we go. 2 trolleys of a unique design. It seems I wasn't the only one having a problem. And other people probably spoke to the company that made them and said, these bind up every time we use them. So they put an extra set of rollers on there. And as tight as I can twist that thing, it's not hanging up. This is a glorious situation that I'm in right now. I had given up hope that I was going to get this thing to work. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to do something drastic to make it happen. And I was not pleased. But this is going to function. Same amount of twist on each one. This one locks up. This one rolls easy. The funny thing, and that's not funny, but it's actually quite nice. Both of these cost the same amount. This one has a lot more work done on it. They redesigned the frame and put these little tabs out on the end, drilled and put an extra wheel on, and the wheel is bigger than the support wheels. This bearing is bigger than the support wheels. It's held on with a good solid shoulder bolt. It tightens up and locks that into position and keeps the bearing mounted solidly. These have got a solid staked shaft in there to support the load. Just the same as these are. So, I'm going to go ahead and put the crane up. Might not be finished today, but I'm a heck of a lot further along than I was before I opened that box just now. I'll put an ad for the trolleys down in the description. I'll put a link to the ad, and you can find these on Amazon. And if you want to build a bridge crane, make sure you get these. Same price as the ones that didn't work. These look to be good. I don't see anything wrong with these, except they didn't have enough. There wasn't enough distance between the wheels to get the angle less. You know, when I put it in here, it's got about 1/8 of an inch travel that it can twist. This one's got less than half of that. And it's not coming up against the edge of the wheel here, dragging along the tube. It's coming up against this, because this is slightly bigger in diameter than the width across these two. Very happy. I've seen a lot of people using these hoists, and most of them run a single track. Like I said, these work okay on a single track, but when you got a bridge, you got that misalignment. Just because there's a distance between the bridge, you want a distance, you want it so that you can cover a larger area. The idea is this building is 24 foot wide. It's 6 feet between the center line and rafters. I wanted to be able to have the hoist travel 6 feet this way, east to west, and then 22 feet north to south. 22 feet will let it right up over the top of the workbench on the north side, because I'll have workbenches over there, and over the top of the rack on the south side, because this rack is 24 inches deep. It won't go exactly up on top of the rack, but with a cable hoist you can push it a little bit, set the thing down and use it. That'll let me put heavier items up on the shelves. I got shelves that'll handle 1,500 pounds each. So if I try and put something up there 200 pounds, shelf will take it easy. But trying to lift 200 pounds up over my head 8 feet in the air by climbing a ladder, not gonna happen. Hoist? Yeah. Hoist it up, shove it in, let the hoist down, set it. So, I'm very happy. Glad to share the idea with you and give you an opportunity to see that I am moving forward. I've been stalled. I gave up on the project for a little while and said, I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna walk away because otherwise I'm gonna blow up. I went out and I planted garden and weeded flower beds and fertilized and watered and trimmed weeds. 2 days off from the hoist, I waited while these new trolleys were coming. Got the new trolleys and said, This is going to work great. So today, moving forward on the project, I got a chance to make it happen. If you have any suggestions for new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.